Welcome back. So I start to get tired. So I like to reading a bit. It's 3:20. So let's continue reading. So just like to go to my bed and read this, and one more after this.
History of writing. History of writing. Historical writing systems. Template image. 6 major historical writing systems, left to right, top to bottom. Sumerian pictographs, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Chinese syllabograms, Old Persian cuneiform, Roman alphabet, Indian Devanagari. The history of writing traces the development of expressing language by systems and techniques of markings. 1. And how these markings were used for various purposes in different societies, thereby transforming social organization. Writing systems are the foundation of literacy and literacy learning, with all the social and psychological consequences associated with literacy activities. In the history of how writing systems have evolved in human civilizations, more complete writing systems were preceded by proto-writing systems of ideographic or early mnemonic symbols, symbols or letters that make remembering theme easier. True writing, in which the content of a linguistic utterance is encoded so that another reader can reconstruct with a fair degree of accuracy the exact utterance written down, is a later development. It is distinguished from proto-writing, which typically avoids encoding grammatical word sound affixes, making it more difficult or even impossible to construct the exact meaning intended by the writer unless a great deal of context is already known in advance. The earliest uses of writing in Sumer were to document agricultural produce and create contracts, but soon writing became used for purposes of finances, religion, government, and law. These uses supported the spread of these social activities, their associated knowledge, and the extension of centralized power. 2. Writing systems. Accounting tokens. Clay-Boolean tokens 4000-3100 BCE. Susa numerical tablet 3500-3350 BCE. Uruk v phase. K-phage cuneiform tags, with drawing of goat or sheep and number, probably 10. Al-Haseka, 3300-3100 BCE. Uruk culture. 3. 4. Writing systems typically satisfy 3 criteria. Firstly, writing must be complete with a purpose or some sort of meaning to it, and a point must be made or communicated in the text. Secondly, all writing systems must have a set of symbols which can be made on some sort of writing material, whether physical or digital. Thirdly, the symbols used in the writing system usually mimic spoken word /speech in order for communication to be possible. 5. Symbolic communication systems are distinguished from writing systems. With writing systems, one must usually understand something of the associated spoken language to comprehend the text. In contrast, symbolic systems, such as information signs, painting, maps, and mathematics, often do not require prior knowledge of a spoken language. Early proto-cuneiform, 4th millennium BCE, and cuneiform scenes for the sexagesimal system, 60, 600, 3600, etc. Every human community possesses language. Although the origin of language is disputed, it is often regarded as an innate and defining condition of humanity. However, the development of writing systems and their partial replacement of traditional oral systems of communication have been sporadic, uneven, and slow. Once established, writing systems on the whole change more slowly than the spoken counterparts and often preserve features and expressions that no longer exist in the spoken language. The greatest benefit of writing is that it provides the tool by which society can record information consistently and in greater detail, something that could not be achieved as well previously by spoken word. Writing allows societies to transmit information and to share and preserve knowledge. Recorded history of writing. Art of Lascaux, with painted animal and 4 dots, a possible notation for lunar months. 6. Some notational signs, used next to images of animals, may have appeared as early as the Upper Paleolithic in Europe circa 35,000 BCE, and may be the earliest proto-writing. Several symbols were reused in combination as a way to convey seasonal behavioral information about hunted animals. 6. The origins of writing are more generally attributed to the start of pottery phase of the Neolithic, when clay tokens were used to record specific amounts of livestock or commodities. 7. These tokens were initially impressed on the surface of round clay envelopes and then stored in them. 7. The tokens were then progressively replaced by flat tablets, on which signs were recorded with a stylus. Actual writing is first recorded in Iraq, at the end of 4th millennium BCE, and soon after in various parts of the Near East. 7. An ancient Mesopotamian poem gives the first known story of the invention of writing, the Kish tablet from Sumer, with pictographic writing. This may be the earliest known writing. 3500 BCE. Ashmolean Museum. Because the messenger's mouth was heavy and he couldn't repeat the message, the Lord of Kilaba patted some clay and put words on it like a tablet. Until then, there had been no putting words on clay. Sumerian epic poem Enmerkar and the Lord of Irita. c. 1800 BCE. 8. 9. Scholars make a reasonable distinction between prehistory and history of early writing. 10. But have disagreed concerning when prehistory becomes history and when proto-writing became true writing. The definition is largely subjective. 11. Writing, in its most general terms, is a method of recording information and is composed of graphemes, which may, in turn, be composed of glyphs. 12. The emergence of writing in a given area is usually followed by several centuries of fragmentary inscriptions. Historians mark the historicity of a culture by the presence of coherent texts in the culture's writing system. 10. Inventions of writing. Sumer, an ancient civilization of southern Mesopotamia, is believed to be the Paleo-written language was first invented around 3200 BCE. Writing was long thought to have been invented in a single civilization, a theory named monogenesis. 13. Scholars believed that all writing originated in ancient Sumer, in Mesopotamia, and spread over the world from there via a process of cultural diffusion. 13. According to this theory, the concept of representing language by written marks, thou not necessarily the specifics of how such a system worked, was passed on by traders or merchants traveling between geographical regions. 14. However, non-Meso-Mercian scholars eventually learned of scripts of ancient Meso-Mercia, far away from Middle Eastern sources, proving to them that writing had been invented more than once. Scholars now recognize that writing may have independently developed in at least 4 ancient civilizations: Mesopotamia, between 3400 and 3100 BCE, Egypt, around 3250 BCE, 15, 16, 13, China, 1200 BCE, 17, and lowland areas of Mesomercia, by 500 BCE. 18. Regarding ancient Egypt, it was once believed the Egyptians had learned the idea of writing from Sumerians. 19. However, several scholars, 15, 20, 21, have argued that the earliest solid evidence of Egyptian writing differs in structure and style from the Mesopotamian and must therefore have developed independently. The possibility of stimulus diffusion from Mesopotamia remains, but the influence cannot have gone beyond the transmission of an idea. 15. 22. Regarding China, it is believed that ancient Chinese characters are an independent invention because there is no evidence of contact between ancient China and the literate civilizations of the Near East. 23, and because of the distinct differences between the Mesopotamian and Chinese approaches to logography and phonetic representation. 24. Debate surrounds the Indus script of the Bronze Age Indus Valley Civilization, the Rongorongo script of Easter Island, and the Vena symbols dated around 5500 BCE. All are undeciphered, and so it is unknown if they represent authentic writing, proto-writing, or something else. The Sumerian archaic, pre-cuneiform, writing and Egyptian hieroglyphs are generally considered the earliest true writing systems, both emerging out of their ancestral proto-literate symbol systems from 3400 to 3100 BCE, with earliest coherent texts from about 2600 BCE. The Proto-Elamite script is also dated to the same approximate period. 25. Developmental stages. Standard reconstruction of the development of writing. 26. 27. There is a possibility that the Egyptian script was invented independently from the Mesopotamian script. 9. This diagram excludes the writing systems found in Mesomercia by 500 BCE. Comparative evolution from pictograms to abstract shapes, in Mesopotamian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs and Chinese characters. A conventional proto-writing to true writing system follows a general series of developmental stages. Picture writing system, GLYPHS. Simplified pictures directly represent objects and concepts. In connection with this, following substages may be distinguished: mnemonic, GLYPHS primarily as Amanda. Pictographic, GLYPHS directly present an object or a concept such as A. Chronological, B. Notices, C. Communications, D. Totems, titles and names, E. Religious, F. Customs, G. Historical, and H. Biographical. Ideographic, graphemes are abstract symbols that directly represent an idea or concept. Transitional system, graphemes refer not only to the object or idea that it represents but to its name as well. Phonetic system, graphemes refer to sounds or spoken symbols, and the form of the grapheme is not related to its meanings. This resolves itself into the following substages: verbal, grapheme, logogram, represents a holy word. Syllabic, grapheme represents a syllable. Alphabetic, grapheme represents an elementary sound. The best-known picture writing system of ideographic or early mnemonic symbols are Jehu symbols, carved on tortoise shells in Jehu c. 6600 BCE. Vena symbols, Tetria tablets, c. 5300 BCE, 28. Early Indus script, c. 3100 BCE. In the Old World, true writing systems developed from Neolithic writing in the early Bronze Age, 4th millennium BCE. Locations and time frames. Examples of the Jehu symbols markings found in tortoise shells dated around 6000 BCE. Most of the signs were separately inscribed on different shells. 29. 30. Proto-writing. The first writing systems of the early Bronze Age were not a sudden invention. Rather, they were a development based on earlier traditions of symbol systems that cannot be classified as proper writing, but have many of the characteristics of writing. These systems may be described as proto-writing. They used ideographic or early mnemonic symbols to convey information, but it probably directly contained no natural language. These systems emerged in the early Neolithic period, as early as the 7th millennium BCE, and include the Jehu symbols found carved in tortoise shells in 24 Neolithic graves excavated at Jehu, Henan Province, northern China, with radiocarbon dates from the 7th millennium BCE. 31. Most archaeologists consider this are not directly linked to the earliest true writing. 32. Vena symbols, sometimes called the Danube script, are a set of symbols found on Neolithic era, 6th to 5th millennia BCE, artifacts from Vena culture of Central Europe and Southeast Europe. 33. The Dispilio tablet of the late 6th millennium may also be an example of proto-writing. The Indus script, which from 3500 BCE to 1900 BCE was used for extremely short inscriptions. Even after the Neolithic, several cultures went through an intermediate stage of proto-writing before they used proper writing. The Quipu of the Incas, 15th century CE, sometimes called talking knots, may have been such a system. Another example is pictographs invented by Uyakuk before the development of the Yugtun syllabary for the Central Alaskan Yupik language in about 1900. Bronze Age writing. Writing emerged in many different cultures in the Bronze Age. Examples are the cuneiform writing of Sumer, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Cretan hieroglyphs, Chinese logographs, Indus script, and the Olmec hieroglyphs of pre-Columbian era Mesomercia. Chinese characters likely developed independently of the Middle Eastern scripts around 1600 BCE. The Mesomercian writing systems, including Olmec and the Maya script, are also generally believed to have had independent origins. It is thought that the first true alphabetic writing was developed around 2000 BCE for Semitic-speaking workers in the Sinai Peninsula by giving Egyptian hieratic letters Semitic values. See History of the Alphabet and Proto-Sinaitic script. The Ge'ez script of Ethiopia and Eritrea is an evolution of the ancient South Arabian script, in which early Ge'ez texts were originally written. 34. Most other alphabets in the world today either descended from this one innovation, many via the Phoenician alphabet, or were directly inspired by its design. In Italy, about 500 years passed from the early Old Italic scripts to Plautus, c. 750–250 BCE, and in the case of the Germanic peoples, the corresponding time span is again similar, from the first Elder Futhark inscriptions to early texts like the Abrugans, c. 200–750 CE. Cuneiform script. Tablet with proto-cuneiform pictographic characters, end of 40th millennium BCE. Uruk-hai. The original Sumerian writing system derives from a system of clay tokens used to represent commodities. By the end of the 4th millennium BCE, this had evolved into a method of keeping accounts using a round-shaped stylus impressed into soft clay at different angles for recording numbers. This was gradually augmented with pictographic writing by using a sharp stylus to indicate what was being counted. By the 29th century BCE, writing, at first only for logograms using a wedge-shaped stylus, hence the term cuneiform, developed to include phonetic elements, gradually replacing round stylus and sharp stylus writing by around 2700–2500 BCE. About 2600 BCE cuneiform began to represent syllables of the Sumerian language. Finally, cuneiform writing became a general-purpose writing system for logograms, syllables, and numbers. From the 26th century BCE this script was adapted to the Akkadian language, and from their Tuthas, such as Hurrian and Hittite. Scripts similar in appearance to this writing system include those for Ugaritic and Old Persian. Egyptian hieroglyphs.